Right out of the gate for us, we get a blockbuster. Eric Gordon on the move for the Sixers. Welcome to the
Don't you ever say Blockbuster and Eric Gordon together ever again.
My bad. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers trade deadline special, live from the Xfinity Lounge, along with Derek, Kyle, and Devon. Of course, we're all here with you. Bree, busy, the president of basketball operations, making sure we are all good this afternoon as we bring you a 2-hour special presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. And we have action right from the start with Eric Gordon. We'll tell you about the details with that. We'll talk about Jared McCain again a little bit more and the significance of both of these players being on the move. Could this lead to something bigger? We now have 58 minutes to go until the NBA trade deadline is in the books. And as we always say during these specials that we hang out with you, a few minutes after the 3 p.m., there's still an opportunity for deals to be announced.
If you're
because
on
the
the
paperwork
call,
is already in, the call is being done. You're good to go there. So stick with us from 2 to 4. We'll have everything here for you. We'll go around the league of all the deals that took place. And it has been a busy one, everybody, in the NBA with this trade deadline. Some big names on the move. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the Jared McCain conversation, the discourse around what took place yesterday for the Sixers and their second-year guard, now former second-year guard, headed to OKC. And what's next? Dominic Barlow, Jabari Walker, their roster in general in terms of space, looking at when they signed last week, Charles Bassey, Kyle, that was on Monday, January 26th. That's 10 days ago. So with that, they have a game tonight, everybody, and Jared McCain is out.
Eric Gordon.
Jabari Walker, at least for right now, is out. Eric Gordon is out.
Same with Dominic Barlow, by the way, a little bit more important than some of these other guys. Yeah.
Yes, that's 4 players that could be, rotation players for the Sixers that are not available for the Sixers-Lakers tonight. So with that, we will be with you tonight, 9:30 for the Sixers and the Lakers pregame show at 9:30. So a busy day for us here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Trade deadline special here with you all. We want to ask you to sign up at allphly.com for our intro offer for the big game, $32. So please do that. Get all the great information right now from Derek with all that is available for you with picks and possible trades that are there at allphly.com. Derek has that written for the primer for you.
Now, Kyle, I will say, that primer, if you start now, you might be able to finish it by 3, but you got to get going.
He's typing, he's updating it as we speak. And Kyle also yesterday on Jared McCain and what it means for the Philadelphia 76ers. Die Hard membership, 60% off, $32, free t-shirt. Jump on in, allphly.com. Kyle, let's begin with the
developing trade that was just reported. So Shams Charania with the initial reporting, I can add a little bit of context. The Sixers traded Eric Gordon and a 2032 second-round pick swap to the Memphis Grizzlies. They get the rights to, I don't know if I'm even pronouncing this correctly, Justinian Jessup is coming back to Philadelphia.
Right. I think you nailed it.
It looks right. It sounds right. I just want to make sure, all due respect to him.
What up, Just?
It's pronounced incorrectly. Now, some of the word attached to that is creates the flexibility. By the way, I have more news coming in from a source. Charles Bassey will sign a second 10-day with the Sixers. So Charles Bassey will be on the roster for the next 10 days. He will get 20 days. Congratulations to Charles Bassey. So the initial word on the street, so to speak, is that the Eric Gordon trade is creating a pathway to finalize a deal with Dominic Barlow. What Derek would say, what I would say, is that they had a pathway to signing Dominic Barlow the second that they traded Jared McCain yesterday. So as a lot of people out there are and remain upset about what happened with McCain, where's the next move, what else is happening, what I would say is that dumping Eric Gordon, and that's exactly what this is, seems to indicate that there are other moves, or at least another move, singular, on the table. Derek, do you have any more clarity on exactly what this does in terms of the financial flexibility, the Eric Gordon piece specifically?
Yeah, so it does two things. It puts them about $5.6 million below the luxury tax, and perhaps just importantly,
More
importantly,
I need a rubber duck to throw at you during
puts them
this
about
show.
$7.6 million below the first apron. So there's a lot of moves that open up almost pretty specifically. There's an 8 or a 7.9 something million dollar trade exception the Sixers have from last year when they dumped KJ Martin to get under the luxury tax that they can now use. When you use a trade exception, you have to stay under that first apron threshold. So they have to stay, they have about $7.6 million now to work with, or they could use it on a buyout market, like to sign someone. Because again, if you sign someone that made it over a certain threshold, you have to stay under that first apron. It becomes a hard cap. Basically, it creates flexibility under that first apron threshold that you now have a couple of different moves, whether it's a trade, whether it's a buyout guy that you can do. And I do think this is look, they had enough room under the luxury tax where they could have converted Dom Barlow before this trade. If they're making this trade, could be a little bit, they want, like, Eric Gordon thinks he can play somewhere, but, like, let's be realistic. You're probably not playing.
Doubt button.
More likely, it means that they are going to try to do something. And that doesn't mean they're going to try to do something today, although for our sake and for the show's sake, I hope it is. It could mean they just want to be active on the buyout market, but now you can do that. And also, one other thing, and again, they didn't need this before. They accomplished this with the McCain trade yesterday. But being able to use your non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which again hard caps you at the first apron, allows you to bring back Barlow for a 4-year deal, to sign him for a 4-year deal. So having a little extra flexibility gives you just a couple of different moves that you can execute. And again, they didn't need to do this to have access to that non-taxpayer mid-level to convert Barlow. I do think this is an indication they're going to do something else in addition to that.
Eric Gordon, I hope you enjoyed your time in Philadelphia, brother. I don't really have much more to add on his tenure here specifically. I think a lot of people were, let's say, not pleased that he was back this year because of the player option. Mm-hmm. It helped them out financially that he declined that and came back on a lower number for this season, but not really. Unlike with the Jared McCain thing where we're talking about future upside, what can he do for the playoff rotation, et cetera. From the very start of this year, we were all like, if Eric Gordon is playing minutes, something has gone wrong. So thank you for your time. Hope you mentored VJ enough in the last 4 or 5 months to get him where he needs to go.
Pour one out for the Eric Gordon error.
An error it was for this basketball team. All right, so as we start to look at things here, we'll get to some of the moves around the league. We have to talk about one of Derek's guys. He was moved, so he's not coming to Philadelphia. And Ayo Dosunmu will let you know if you have not heard where he is going. We'll discuss, just in general, we'll discuss all the moves as we go along. But for this first hour, we certainly have to talk about the Sixers and what could be on the horizon here. As Derek just talked about, could it mean a buyout situation later on? That flexibility there. Looking at the roster right now, they have 3 playable guards. When you look at Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Quentin Grimes, no Jared McCain. Some might say he wasn't playable anyway because he wasn't playing well. But they, as far as availability, they don't have another guard to go on this basketball team. So with Dosunmu now off the market, heading to Minnesota, and some of the other names, Chicago still adding guards as we speak, all over this trade deadline. Still don't know what they're doing. But something needs to happen for this basketball team, Kyle. So let's start there. As we mentioned yesterday, we were signing off, the Jared McCain move, you kind of reserve a little bit of judgment until you find out exactly what happens in the end.
Yep.
And we still have 50 minutes until the trade deadline. But if you're looking at roster, at least for the roster, this is a team that's now 29-21, fighting for their seeding life in the Eastern Conference. A few more games left before the All-Star break, and when they come back, there are a ton of road games in March, and certainly in April before the playoffs get underway. But I would think they believe they're a top 6 seed and they can compete with anybody on the floor. So when you look at roster-wise, what type of player would you like to see? Dominic Barlow gets converted, eventually the same thing maybe for Jabari Walker. What would you like to see as we get
big breaking news
here?
Ivica Zubac to the Indiana Pacers.
Yes.
We'll fill you in on what the trade details are on that one as the details come in. But that's
huge.
So we can actually apply that to the Sixers real quick before we get into the question you're talking about, Devon. Depending on what happens here with the Clippers, this is not a team that looks to be focused on the right now. And I know that they are trying to set up for cap space in summer of 2027, potentially. It was a part of the reporting of why James Harden ended up on the outside looking in there when he seemed to be committed to playing for the Clippers the rest of his career. Those 2028 firsts they have from the Clippers unprotected and the 2029 pick swap, it could be time to strike while the iron is hot, depending on your perspective, or their draft capital could be getting more valuable by just sitting here and doing nothing. I'm not exactly sure yet. We're going to see what's going back the other way in exchange for Zubats, but the Clippers are a team of great interest to the Sixers right now and for the next few years. So this is very, very interesting. I don't know what the Clippers have going on over there, but I'm interested.
I do love that now everyone is so worried about getting that news out first that we only send out partial news.
Just like
the Clippers are trading Zubac. Well, there's more to the deal. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I get it, because there's 10 people trying to break the same news. But social media
I would
is
guess
wild.
multiple first. What I had been hearing the last 24 hours is that when AD moved, that potentially he was going to command as much, if not more, draft capital because of his general sturdiness compared to Mr. Davis.
That still blows my mind. Look, and I get like building a team around AD and Trey is a lot of risk.
Yeah.
They give up so little though. Like I get that. Like
So we'll wait on the Zubats
To the
news.
question.
To circle back to what Devon is asking.
What would you like to see them add now to the roster, especially if they're going to feel like they can make a run?
Well, I think it's the same guys I have been after that the NBA is essentially built around these days. Switchable wings, guys who are two-way players who can defend maybe 2 through 4, maybe just 3 and 4 because the Sixers have backcourt heavy defenders, and guys who are going to shoot the ball. There are not a lot of those, right? Those are very tough to get your hands on. It's why you brought up Sadiq Bey, and the Pelicans are in a spot where they should be sellers. It's why we talked about Najee Marshall, although the three-point shot there, not super trustworthy, has not been for a couple years. So those type of players. And then for me, the guy I keep hammering is Tari Eason in Houston. I think he's that mold of player where I'm not sure I buy the shot long term. I really like Tari Eason. I'm not sure I buy the shot, but a power forward who's going to defend his butt off, who's going to rebound the ball, who fits into their aggressive turnover hunting style. Like I think he's a match made in heaven for the way they play here. And if he shoots, great. That's a huge bonus. He's shooting the lights out on really good volume this year. But a player in that mold, a defensive-minded 4 who can also space the floor. Again, very difficult to find these guys in today's NBA. Like that's a guy who makes a lot of money. He is a pending restricted free agent, but he's acquirable right now for not a lot of outgoing salary because he's still on the rookie scale contract. He'd be a restricted free agent. How much you want to give him in the summertime, I'm not sure, but that's the mold of player I'm after. Someone who's on the Maxey and VJ timeline, who fills needs that they need. That's who I'm going after if I'm the Sixers.
What about you?
No, I think that's mostly right. And I think that's why when we did our last round of trade targets, that's why a lot of them were big switchable wings. I do think you could use more ball handling and more outside shooting. I do think, quite frankly, you use a backup big because nobody here really trusts Drummond, and who we will see whether or not he's still a Sixer in the next 60 minutes or so. But yeah, I think smaller targets as more ball handling and shooting on the perimeter and backup bigs. But the primary target is always someone who can be here. Those are sort of like immediate short-term needs. If you're looking for a longer-term piece, a wing is always what you're looking for.
Yeah, so and as long as that wing, of course, when Paul George returns, as long as that wing, as you mentioned, is a ball handler, a guy who can do some things with the basketball. That's why none of us were wrong in bringing up the idea, the guys that we liked as far as Sadiq goes or Najee Marshall goes. We're just looking at some guys with some length and that can shoot the ball a little bit, maybe some self-creation out there on the floor. And outside of Paul George and Kelly Oubre, you really don't have that at that position. So if they're able to bring something like that in, we can even talk about, the Brooklyn Nets, who have made some moves already, including a smaller one, but Boston sending Josh Minott to the Brooklyn Nets. They waived former Sixer Haywood Highsmith, and maybe he is someone that you can pick up as a player like that with some playoff experience, as we just talk about that more on the margins, as a player who can do a lot of those things, from shooting the basketball, defend the position, and switchable on that end of the floor. And that's where it's important for this team to be able to do that, because when they get into the postseason, you need a lot of guys who can just, especially with the way that they're playing defense, switch. Everything is switch and take some gambles. We talk about what they did in Toronto under Nick Nurse's defense. You need players with some length there that are able to do so. And now with Jared McCain gone and not part of the rotation, that's a player that was in the rotation, smaller. Tyrese Maxey is now the only one really because Quentin Grimes is 6'4", 6'5". And of course, VJ Edgecombe, same height. Everyone else is bigger. You need to keep adding to that for this roster in general as they make their noise. They hope to make the noise in the Eastern Conference. So I agree with you guys. That's just simply something that they flat out need to do.
Look, here's the thing. If they don't make a move here, or a move of consequence, we'll say, because even if they don't make a trade, I think there'll probably be some kind of buyout candidate or someone who gets a 10-day tryout who then they eventually add as the 15th man on the roster. They're not going to go into the playoffs with 14 guys on the roster. I feel pretty confident saying that. Somebody will fill out the roster eventually. But if you don't make a move of consequence and then one of your end of bench guys that you add ends up being another small guard, I will be irritated. Like, that's the scenario that would piss me off a little bit, because in that instance, I'd rather just have Jared McCain there. You swing for the upside, even in the short term, right? Like Jared McCain versus, like, I don't know, pick a guard, like Chris Paul, for example. Chris Paul, who's super old, like has a defined skill set, but not somebody I want playing in a playoff game either. I would have rather, in that instance, hold on to Jared McCain.
Yeah.
You can probably make a similar trade as we're talking about right now that they just made around the draft sometime in the offseason. I don't think this was so urgent that it needed to be done now. So I'm still in the camp of, I understand the trade, and even I wouldn't say support is a little too strong. I can get behind the trade that they made involving McCain, but they could make that trade, in my mind, a few months from now. So I am putting pressure on them, and I think there should be pressure on them to do something that materially helps this team with that trade, so that this is not just a future, kick the can down the road moment. And by the way, it appears Benedict Mathurin will be part of the trade for Zubats between Indiana and LA, but we're still waiting on final details from that. That's according to Jake Fisher. And Michael Scotto over at Hoops Hype just confirmed that.
And that name has been attached to Zubac. Once all of this started to come out, Zubac and Mathurin seemed like the two headliners in this deal.
And I do think Zubac is a good person to target, especially after losing Turner last year. You get your guys healthy back, I think that's a pretty decent fit.
Not bad.
Different player than Turner,
very
certainly.
different.
But if you're talking about a guy who will benefit from the Halliburton's passing when he's back and guard-heavy attack.
Especially playing with Harden and being one of his better pick-and-roll partners.
Oh, he will level you with the screen.
Yes, the screening, and then you have a different type of center. Let's say if they keep Jay Huff, he's not on the move. You have a different type of center coming off the bench there. So still, Obi Toppin has been out for a good part of the year. They still have some pretty good players on that team once Halliburton is back and the Indiana Pacers are back in the Eastern Conference conversation. So speaking of Drummond, you mentioned Derek, and would you look to this is not for duck and attack purposes. This is simply because we've talked about.
They don't need to at this point.
Right. Yeah. But just as simply because we've all agreed that while Bona does some really good things, he's inconsistent. The same for Andre Drummond as a rebounder, inconsistent. Would you look to maybe improve that position now that we see some of the other things that have already happened?
Yes. And I do just want to go back real quickly. How easily they were able to get off of Eric Gordon? Because we were talking is it going to cost multiple second-round picks to get off of Gordon? How easily they were able to get off of Gordon just really shows you didn't need to trade Jared McCain to dump the tax.
Yes.
So you better actually have a plan with those assets that you got back from McCain. All right, so moving on to Jean. Yes, he can't play anymore. So I would like to get more flexibility. Because what I would like to do, it's not only okay, I know I say everything is about ducking the tax. Josh Harris is going to want to be under that tax line, so I want to create enough flexibility to be able to use those trade exceptions to get back useful players. One of the ways you create even more space, and again, they're about 5.6 million under the luxury tax, about $7.6 million under the apron. To stay under that luxury tax and be able to use most of that trade exception, get rid of Andre Drummond, clear another $5 million, have more flexibility, go out there and get guys that you actually want on the basketball court. So yes, get rid of Drummond, please.
So my question, if they trade Drummond, is what is the plan at center? Because
you got to go out and get someone.
At that point, as much as look, I would like to explore more minutes where Barlow plays small ball 5 and you play a switchable group out there. And like, that's something I want to prepare to play in the playoffs potentially. So you got to look at it in the regular season. And that's all well and good. You cannot go into the rest of the season from the deadline on saying it's Bona and Barlow and that's the plan when Joel Embiid doesn't play. Like, that isn't a plan. That's an absence of a plan. And so were they to move Drummond, and we had heard Houston might be interested in Drummond, and so we'll see if they kick the tires there with Steven Adams out for the season. And hey, maybe you loop it into a Tari Eason trade. I'm going to keep banging the drum for Tari Eason in this final hour.
I mean, look, Rockets don't have perfect spacing.
No.
Andre 3-point shooting Drummond.
Hey, spacing bigger rebounds, baby. So that's my question: is if you move Drummond, and he's done nothing over the last month and a half to say, boy, they really need to keep him, other than the fact that they just don't have another big there who can step in and play and eat minutes in a game that Joel doesn't play. So if they were to move him, and who knows, we got 38 minutes left right now, there has to be some kind of plan to get another big in here. So we'll see what that is. And if maybe it's just Bassey. Maybe they they haven't played him, so I'd be shocked. Derek, I know, I get it. I would be shocked if they went from he's a 10-day guy to take up a roster spot to you are one of the 3 bigs on a Joel Embiid team. That would be stunning. I'm just saying maybe that would be it. They would try to spin it that way, but they need a better plan than that.
And Bassey has played for the Blue Coats. He just hasn't played for the Sixers. And if you missed our conversation last week where we talked about some of the targets that we would look for at the bigs on the market, maybe. We talked about Yves Missi from the New Orleans Pelicans. Yep. We discussed Day'Ron Sharpe from the Brooklyn Nets as well as 2 of the players that we did like. We all agreed on those guys. And we'll see about some of the other ones that may just pop up as things go along. Because Houston right now, without Steven Adams, it is Alperen Şengün and Clint Capella. Yes, they have some. Tari Eason can play the 5. He can slide over some of those minutes. Same thing for Jabari Smith. Can play some 5 minutes, but they're only doing so in smaller stints, the same way you see Nick Nurse maybe does with Dominic Barlow or Jabari Walker here in Philadelphia. So that's where the Houston connection comes into play and what it could mean for the Sixers as we go along. Bigs, like Jock Landale was one that we talked about after the fact, and he was included in that big Jaren Jackson trade to the Utah Jazz. He was later traded to the Atlanta Hawks, and it looked like they're going to keep him in Atlanta to play behind as they moved on from Kristaps Porzingis. We'll get into all of those a little bit later.
There have never been more reports without actually detailing the Zubats final trade. Chris Haynes now follows up and says multiple first-round picks plus Mathurin, but no clarity on what those firsts are yet.
Multiple firsts.
Yes.
Plus Mathurin. Okay.
So we're still waiting and seeing. Sorry to cut you off, Devon. There's just one of those days where everything is coming
special.
In fast and furious.
This is what's happening. And for those who again checking in, Bree has it up on the screen. Eric Gordon traded to the New Orleans Pelicans for 2 second-round picks. Jared McCain yesterday sent to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a first and 2 seconds. And those are the 2 Sixers currently on the move. Charles Bassey, as Kyle reported, back on a second 10-day contract, which was going to expire today. He's back on a new 10-day contract. And from today, the Sixers have 4 more games into the All-Star break, 3 left on the West Coast trip, including tonight with the Lakers, and then the last game next Wednesday at home against the Knicks before the break. So that's what the schedule is, and that's where the Sixers are right now. So, Bree, should we take a break now, or do you want to keep going? We can keep going.
Here we go. Jake Fisher, first pick going to the Clippers for Zubats. Pacers unprotected first-round pick in 2029. The other is their 2026 first-round pick, protected 1 through 4 and 10 through 30. So it's basically only if it falls 5 to 9, and if it's outside of that range, it then converts to a 2031 unprotected.
So just as a bit of cap minutia, like whenever you trade a pick, there has to be at least 5. There has to be like a 5-pick conveyance window. So that was the bare minimum that they could offer. Like they had to offer at least 5 picks that it could convey if it fell in. And they offered exactly 5.
It's kind of interesting, though.
It is.
Because it could, I mean.
Who
it's interesting as a pick for the Clippers to get. Like, I get why they're trading for Zubats. He's a good player, and, they want to have a real team in place. But the Pacers, we've seen a lot of these teams they're one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in the league this year. But we saw last year how the lottery is shaken out these days. The odds are so flat. the teams that are in that 1 through 5 range can easily get pushed out of it. So there's not zero danger of them losing that pick.
They currently have about a 50-50 chance of getting that pick right now. And if it doesn't, like a 2031, like getting 2 unprotected picks, not bad business.
I think
it's not bad
it's
business
good business and then you get Mathurin as well. You take the punt on him. I believe I saw Isaiah Jackson might be going to.
Yes.
And look, I'm not his biggest fan, but he's at least like a rotational big for sure. So
he's all right.
It's an interesting one. I'll have to wait and see exactly what happens.
No, my initial instinct was, it's a pretty good get for Indiana. It's like, ooh, that's a high price. Like when the details of that came out, I think LA did okay with that one.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that's the Indiana Pacers, the new look Pacers with Zubac there in the middle for the Eastern Conference champions from last season, and no Tyrese Halliburton. So we'll see how that goes. Still good players: Siakam, Zubac, Nembhard, and T.J. McConnell off the bench. They have some players there that next season they'll be right back in the mix. All right, let's take our first break, right, Bree? As we take this first break, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about who else we would like to see, what else we would like to see the Sixers do, maybe in different spots.
Make a trade.
Making
That's what
a
I want to see
trade.
him do.
Yes. Who would that maybe be? We don't know, but we'll look at that. There are right now about 33 minutes until the trade deadline is complete, and just a little bit over. As long as they're on the phone and the paperwork is in, they're good to go. And we will talk about that when we get back. Hanging out with you on the NBA trade deadline special on this Thursday, February 5th. A lot of action around the margins for the Sixers right now. Even though Jared McCain, people are frustrated about that. We'll discuss that more when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers trade deadline special. We are officially into the new year, and it's time to make your homes work smarter, not harder. With a TrueMark Financial Home Equity Line of Credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever is next on your list. A TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need it on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit, use only what you need, and when you are ready, you can lock in all or part of your balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and as you pay it back, that credit becomes available again, no reapplying, no extra steps. Learn more about TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branches located to get started. That's locations, everybody. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender, NMLS 404938.
Guys, we all know the feeling. You walk into a jewelry store, you're trying to pick something out special for your partner. Suddenly you find yourself in over your head. You're thinking, what's the difference between all these diamonds? What if they don't like this gift that I'm spending all this time on? It can be very stressful. That's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design has been such a game changer for us here at PHLY. From the moment that you walk in, they treat you like family. There's no pressure, no pushy sales vibe. It's just people who actually listen. Imagine that. Such a rare concept these days, unfortunately. They help you figure out exactly what your partner will love, and they design things completely custom, in-house. Great service from the team over at Bucci's. And right now, gold prices are over $5,000 an ounce. So if you got old jewelry sitting around, Bucci's can help you sell it for cash, refurbish old pieces, or turn it into something brand new. 30 plus years in the game. Philly's #1 jeweler, over 5,000 5-star reviews. So whether you're buying new or turning old gold into something special, visit Bucci's Jewelry and Design at BucciJewelers.com. Tell them the guys at PHLY sent you.
Back here on the PHLY Sixers trade deadline special. Jared McCain, Eric Gordon out, and just picks. That's it.
No, hey, excuse you. The rights to Justinian Jessup
Sorry.
are on the way, Devon.
Sorry, I apologize.
He hasn't come over in the first 6 years after being drafted, but you never know.
Can't wait to see you in the Sixers uniform, my friend. Can't wait to see it. All right, as we wait for, see if anything happens in the next 30 minutes, everybody, like and subscribe to the show. We appreciate you as always. And we are here with you until 4 o'clock for our trade deadline special. A ton of you in there, so please like, subscribe, leave a comment as well. Let us know what you think about your basketball team. Let us know what you think about how we're doing here on the show as well, as the Sixers lose 2 players and man, they got to do something because I know we'll all be frustrated. Kyle, you wanted to throw something.
I wanted to just, while there's still time here, in light of the Zubac trade, in light of what happened with Harden, Garland obviously is a very uncertain player for this year and certainly moving forward. What would you give up if the Clippers said, we'll trade you Kawhi Leonard right now? Where are you drawing the line, knowing his injury history, the tree planting scandal that is, of course, as soon as he would be on your team, that's when the suspension or the contract voiding or whatever would come down. But let's just say Kawhi looks around the room. He says, you traded a really good big, starting level big. You traded James Harden, who's the engine of the offense a lot of nights. What are you willing to give up?
So you start with.
Do you want Kawhi at all? Like if he's on the table, do you want him number one?
I would do that. Yes.
I mean, they're going to want their first round picks back.
Yeah.
And also, right away, you take off VJ Edgecombe. Again, same way we talked about Giannis, you take VJ Edgecombe off the table. They're going to obviously want that. Paul George has to be in the conversation there.
Which would be very funny because they specifically chose Kawhi over PG, and that's why PG ended up here in the first place.
Yes. So I would be interested in Kawhi Leonard and something in a marriage there with the Sixers. Paul George would have to be there. Some of the picks, VJ Edgecombe is not. The whole point of it is that you can move on from Paul George. You can keep your young player and your backcourt intact, and you bring in a proven winner. And he did so with Nick Nurse in Toronto, so their relationship is already there. And I would be in on that. I would be in on that mainly because you don't have to part ways with VJ Edgecombe, and you're still able to add him and placing him in the lineup for Paul George.
No, I would give them their picks back to swap Paul George for Kawhi. And look, the risks are real, right? Like he's
right. All the things we say about you have to have a healthy other star next to Joel, you're making it even worse going from PG to Kawhi.
Look, like Kawhi's history, like I did not expect him to be able to play 37 games or whatever he did this year at this level. He's playing very good basketball, and like it's not a slight upgrade over Paul George. It's a very significant upgrade.
And this run that he has been on, when we talked
about 30 points
in the
a game
beginning of the week, previewing the Sixers Clippers, he's been on fire.
Man, they went 15-3, powered by Kawhi and James Harden playing great basketball, and they could both be off the team in 2 weeks later. Yeah,
and Zubac.
Look, I don't think it's especially likely. Let's just put that out there. I'm looking at the landscape here, so I wanted to throw it out there.
No, I do think the Sixers right now have a high enough chance of winning the Eastern Conference that you cannot dismiss something like that. And as long as you're keeping VJ, you retain a lot of your long-term hope. I would be open to that upgrade.
And looking at their roster, James Harden, Zubac, and Kawhi Leonard, that's where you begin. After that, all right, Darius Garland comes in. Kawhi Leonard is still there. Now you're left with Bradley Beal, who you traded for, who you signed and he doesn't play. Nick Batum, we all have our affinity for Nick Batum. John Collins and Brook Lopez. Chris Dunn. That's not the same team that Kawhi Leonard started the season off with and won these consecutive games, 18-4 in their last 22.
And to Kyle's point, he's not wrong. Like they very specifically chose Kawhi over Paul George 16 months ago or whatever it was. But that's not the era that they're in anymore. Like right now they're choosing, do we want draft picks or do we want Kawhi? It really has nothing to do with Paul outside of the fact that he's a matching salary.
And Kawhi's contract, by the way, done after next year. He is an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2027. So you get 2 years. Sell it based on that. You say you have one playoff run this year, full season next year in a playoff run, and then potentially you're out of the Kawhi business. You're even closer to Joel Embiid's contract being up, and you can a little more quickly potentially pivot into the Maxey, VJ, and other young guys era.
And they're already in his health wheelhouse. Take your days off when you need to take your days off. Joel does it. Paul George does it.
Yeah.
Take your days. Nick Nurse did it in Toronto. Take your days. But just be ready when you're back to go out there and hoop. And we've seen that he still has that in him to be able to average what he's doing. By the way, he's been named the All-Star replacement by Adam Silver with Giannis out and bringing in Kawhi Leonard. That moves, I think it was Karl Anthony Towns shifted over to the world team where Kawhi Leonard is the representative for LA since they're having the All-Star game in Los Angeles. Yes, I would do that for Paul George and moving on from him. He cannot be happy. And look, he's a chill guy. He's like, whatever. I'm just going out there and play basketball. Who knows? Who knows? But it would be very interesting if something like that
And look,
happened.
we've had a rebounding problem ever since Ben Simmons left.
Boardman gets paid.
He literally has a saying, boardman gets paid.
Now, that was a very different version of Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, that was
when
college
he
Kawhi,
yeah,
but
that
still,
was-
doesn't matter.
Anyway, so that's a hypothetical that almost certainly isn't going to happen, but it's just
It's a
rumbling
good one.
around there for me when I'm thinking of Kawhi being like Will Smith on that episode of The Fresh Prince, looking around
Standing
an
in
empty
the room.
room saying, how'd everybody go? Why am I still here other than wanting to be in LA? And I'll also add, yes, he went home and he played in LA and like drove himself there after the Toronto championship, but he did so under the umbrella of Paul George has got to come with me. And I
Yeah.
know he had talked to other stars too. Like Jimmy Butler was a guy I know he had conversations with. There were a couple other names who were in the mix at the time. So Kawhi is not someone who I think wants to just live in purgatory for the next 2 years.
No, it's a little bit like I was.
Smaller trade, Charlotte Hornets trading Tyus Jones to Dallas for Malachi Branham after some movement
I mean,
already. So that's why I said smaller trade.
yeah, it's definitely a smaller trade.
That
You're
might
not
be
wrong.
a bottom ticker trade
yeah, smaller
in the future.
trade. There you
But it
go.
sort of reminds me of the Giannis situation. You know, I was reading the Eric Name article, the profile he did on Giannis, and Giannis was like, "Look, not only do I love the Bucks and I love the fans, but I love the city. Like this is where my kids were born. This is where, he just bought his mom a house here. He buried his dad here. Like all of these reasons, I love this area. I love Milwaukee. I want to play in Milwaukee, but I want to play in Milwaukee and win. And that second part is very, very like I'm sure Kawhi would love to end his career with the Clippers." But he probably also wants to win too, and it's very clear that's not going to happen now.
Are there any other, if we're doing a hypothetical with
Like
20
out of
minutes
left
left,
field?
yeah, any 20 minutes left, even with some moves that have already been made where you're looking at the landscape of those rosters, like we talk about New Orleans, but that was even before they
Whoa.
even made any of these trades. Is there anything else that
Is that just the Zubats details?
About Walker Kessler,
Oh, no,
that's
that's a
what
different.
they made a
they
run
had
at
they
him?
had offered the same 2 unprotected picks for Walker Kessler, and Utah turned
Vince,
it down.
wherever you're at,
Vindicated.
So that means they're probably going to keep him.
Yeah, I mean,
long
I
term.
think so.
Yeah. So is there any other out of left field
That was by Chris Haynes, by the way. I'm
that
sorry,
you
go ahead.
look at and say, you know what, 20 minutes, make the call, see if you can entice them to jump in on something wild here where you give me this player, and maybe Paul George is included in this one. Looking at Golden State has already done some things. Clippers certainly have done a few things. Is there any other out of left field player that you might have targeted, Derek, that you would look at and say, you know what, let's take a swing. Let's see what they say.
I mean, the Greek fellow that we just talked about.
Yeah, unfortunately,
He
that's
doesn't count. He doesn't count.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure there's any that I have that we haven't already talked about. But look, I do think that you have some flexibility now, whether that's in the $5 to $8 million range with the space they've opened up, whether that is a summer trade, whether that is a bigger trade involving Paul George. You have a decent amount of picks for the big swings. You have a decent amount of flexibility for the medium swings. They're in a pretty good spot, which is why I hope that we get some news here in the next 20 minutes. Not holding my breath, but I
so.
hope.
This will never happen because it's financially impossible. I wonder if Orlando would entertain trading one of the
PB
big
no J?
two there. Yeah, like Banchero or Wagner. Sorry, because
It's all right. We're Americans. We can say that.
I have a German last name. I gotta.
So do I.
So I
don't.
I have a side eye on that franchise because
That you
every
have to
time
pick
one of
or
them
the
goes
other.
out,
Yeah.
the
They who?
team plays better. Like it's just a more coherent team. And then the two of them are together and it's right back to the offense kind of stinks. And yeah, they're big and switchable. And like, I don't know. Like there is no indication that either one of those guys is available. But I would be calling them. Hey, we notice you kind of suck when your two franchise cornerstones are on the floor. What do you think about giving one of those guys up? I don't know. That'd be my out of left field if we're talking about like more big fish
Yeah.
hunting.
That's
than
more realistic.
The Tari Eason category.
That's more realistic than mine. The one that I had, and like it's for a lot of people, but I don't think they would do it, would be Jaden McDaniels with Minnesota. Anthony Edwards would not let that happen unless he was getting something of
It feels like that
significance
only
back.
happens if there's a Giannis
Yes,
trade.
yeah, unless there was something significant back. And we are talking about Paul George being in any of these deals. He would be one that, of course, I would make a phone call for just to see, engage where Tim Connelly is on that. That's it. Other than, really isn't more. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned, not for the Sixers, just league-wide. Giannis not going anywhere based on the reports. Is Ja Morant going to get traded? Not Sixers. Is Ja Morant going to get traded?
It's hard to call. I mean, it seems a little more likely just based on Giannis not moving, because it felt like some potential offers were frozen as teams were like, we want to load up for Giannis. We're not going to trade even like a bad first. We're not going to trade any of our available firsts to get Ja. But if you're a team who just says now, hey, I want to take a swing, obviously not the Sixers. He makes no sense here. And there's just no real reason to get involved in the Ja Morant business. But if you're like Miami, for example, and you can get Ja for, I don't know, like Andrew Wiggins and Norm Powell, who's what? Norm Powell's like 32, I think.
Yeah.
And I know he's an all-star. He's had another great year after a very good year last year.
Or Wiggins and Hero.
Yeah, like it's some combination of a couple guys down there, and then you get Ja. You hope that Heat culture, air quotes, turns him around. You pair him with a pick and roll and a very good passing big as well, and Bam Adebayo can get him back on track. I don't know. I think that'd be interesting. I probably wouldn't do it, and I would make the Grizzlies just kind of deal with the Ja Morant thing, but he's the biggest name that's out there for sure.
Yeah, I was curious about that when seeing what you guys thought. Derek, what do you think? You think he's just staying in Memphis for the rest of the season? They'll revisit it in the summer?
I just feel like we've heard so little about it that it would be pretty stunning if there was a really good offer out there.
You heard some Minnesota stuff, but they made the move for Ayo Dosunmu.
And Milwaukee stuff as well.
Milwaukee too, and Milwaukee made a trade where today they moved Cole Anthony for Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes. It was, and that was the Milwaukee deal. So it was Cole Anthony and Amir Coffey for Nigel Hayes and Nick Richards. So
and that deal just expanded into a much bigger one apparently, because
Bree had it up on the screen, so that's why I brought it up. But
so Shams just reported that this trade has been expanded to a 3-team deal. Ousmane Dieng is going to Milwaukee. Nick Richards is going to the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
And the Bulls need size. Like they traded Vucevic, and they have an army of guards still, even with all these trades that they made, with Ayo being outgoing. And by the way, I think we have kind of skipped over the Ayo portion of today's proceedings, but that was a pretty big, at least theoretical loss for candidates for the Sixers that we've been interested in. For sure.
I shed a tear when that happened.
Yeah, yes, so let's talk about that one for Minnesota, and why we were interested in.
Well, he's still looked at as a bench player, not a starter. When you hear all the point guard stuff with Minnesota, it was maybe to upgrade the starting position, where they've had to have Dante DiVincenzo run the point along with Anthony Edwards. He's still coming off the bench, and Dante DiVincenzo looks like he's going to remain in that starting role. But there's 6 now with him included. That's pretty good. And you bring in some of the other guys like Naz Reid, obviously, as former Sixth Man of the Year, and Terrence Shannon Jr. coming off the bench. They have a pretty good rotation of players that they can count on and lean on. Dip into a little bit of Bones Highland, who has been having a bounce back year as a bench player. So it is a shame, but I thought he would he's a backup, but I thought he might end up somewhere if he did get moved where he would have an opportunity to play a little bit more minutes as a starter because of what you guys have talked about with him.
Yeah, no, I thought he would have been a great fit here as a third guard. Yeah. Just the combination of shooting, at least this year, his on-ball defense, the ability to defend multiple positions, and the pretty good decision maker and pretty trustworthy with the ball in his hands. All things that the Sixers really, really lack. Yeah. And for what he went through, what was it, 3 seconds?
It was Rob Dillingham and Leonard Miller, I believe,
and then like 3 seconds,
second round picks.
Bree has it right there.
Yeah, it was
4 second round picks.
4 second round picks. Basically, roughly equivalent to what you got for Jared McCain. I would have been interested in that for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, Minnesota traded 2 first round picks for the right to draft Dillingham last year, and he boy, did that not work out for them because he was out of sight, out of mind for most of this year. Bones Highland, who was I guess like a similar type of guard to him, but a guy who has bounced around the league a little bit after getting drafted. The fact that he was able to take that role over Dillingham does not say a lot about Dillingham.
And that's the thing. He was out of sight, out of mind on a team that desperately needed his skill set and position. So clearly he was not working out.
So 6 guards on the Bulls roster, as I count them, including Josh Giddey, Anthony Simons, Colin Sexton, 2 newcomers, Trey Jones, Jaden Ivey, also a newcomer, Rob Dillingham, newcomer, and Josh Giddey. So 6 guards that are – Rob Dillingham is not a rotational guard because he wasn't playing, but a player that maybe they want to just see. They want to evaluate. So I know, Derek, you had your eyes on Ayo, but any possibility that you would be willing to look at one of those guards potentially? I know you already said no. Trey Jones, he hasn't passed the Kyle Neubeck height test.
He's not even
so
close.
He's out. And
Dillingham also might be smaller than me.
Right.
And like, it's not that I'm in the greatest shape in the world, but I'm not exactly like the fattest guy.
And I'm asking because of the guard help.
I mean, they barely passed the Devon Givens height test. And that's not.
That is very true. It's very true. So I'm asking because you only have 3 guards.
No, you
including
desperately
Kyle Lowry. You only have 3 guards.
Yeah, 3
Well,
guards who you
we
want
are
to
not
play.
including Kyle Lowry.
We're not counting a member of the coaching staff.
No, you definitely need a guard, 100%. Whether it's at the trade deadline here in the next 12 minutes or in the buyout market, you desperately need a guard.
And the reports
Just
already
not
with
them.
Mike Conley that he's probably, if he's waived and if he
might go
on
back
the market,
to Minnesota,
going back to the Timberwolves. So he's out. Chris Paul, the Toronto thing, terrible retirement send-off for him because of how things played out in Los Angeles. And now he's still out there potentially. You don't want him because they're the same age, he and Kyle Lowry. So if you're not playing one, you're not playing the other. So where do they go as far as guards? And I just looked at Chicago simply because they have so many guards on their roster now. A ton.
So we have 12 minutes left before the deadline. I will once again plant our flag and say this. If they did all this and it's just for getting Barlow on a contract and buyout guys, I will not be happy. There is no way to spin that as a flexibility move. As Derek laid out at the start of the show, the McCain move alone, you had the flexibility, air quotes, to get Barlow on a contract. So we're waiting for the final puzzle pieces here. If the puzzle pieces were flushed down the toilet or thrown in a trash can, I'm going to be pretty upset.
One more guard I wanted to throw at you guys, I don't disagree with you, is Lonzo getting traded yesterday from Cleveland to Utah, and the reports are that they would let him go. Any interest in Lonzo Ball as a 4th guard on this team?
No, because when I have watched them play this year, he has been horrific. Yeah. And that matches every stat you could look at, the basic box score stuff. He has been awful. And maybe it's a good way to reflect on. Remember when we were talking about, hey, maybe Embiid can get the Lonzo Ball experimental surgery? Boy, it sure seems like a good idea that they didn't do that because Lonzo has been dreadful. And there's a reason that Cleveland, who is trying to win, who's trying to compete, getting James Harden, is saying, we want to be out of the Lonzo Ball business. Goodbye.
They picked up 2 extra guards and moved on from Lonzo. I just wanted to throw that one out there. I saw somebody else also mention it.
It's a fair name. Like, he's a name that people know. And when Lonzo was healthy, he's a really interesting player.
Yeah.
Like a big enough guy to defend multiple positions, intelligent passer, all that, like transition player, the hit-aheads, all that type of stuff. And when he shot the ball, great, but it has been ugly for a while.
Yeah, in the last 2 or 3 years before the injury, his shooting was really on an upward trajectory. But no, I don't have any interest in the current version of him.
Yeah, it's a tough sales pitch for me.
Yes.
What are we? Final predictions coming. Well, listen, I feel bad I'm just like constantly looking down at my phone, getting texts, getting alerts, getting all kinds of
Devon
things.
brought up, do you like those 2 guards? And I'm like, oh crap, I have no idea who
Which
he's talking about. But I looked up and saw the screen and Bree saved my behind. So that worked out.
Final
well.
predictions. Do they do something? Because this is like, we're talking really last minute
really
at
up
this
against
point.
it. And we looked before the show, last minute stuff. Jaden Springer, when he was traded to 2 trade deadlines ago, it was 2:56 p.m. The Buddy Hield deal that you brought up before the show, that was earlier in the morning. That was around 10:30 in the morning on that trade deadline day. And from there on, I don't remember any other ones.
No, because
going
Quentin
up
was like
against-
2 days before, right? Or a day before?
Yeah. So going up against the clock here. Do they do anything? No.
You think this is it? You think this is
it.
buyout?
I think
this is it.
The closer we get, the more we're closer to that reality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless there is something really big being worked on, and
again, carry
leaving
over
that
to
down to
3
the
o'clock.
wire, that would be. Yeah,
What do
I
you
am
think,
not
Derek?
feeling especially good about a potential move here.
maybe a Drummond move. But if you're not going to make another trade, there's no reason to move Drummond. So no probably not. A buyout
the
guy.
danger of going down to Bona and Barlow as your effective non-Joel center rotation is not great. Not great, I would say that.
No. And look, your division rivals, whether you like what they did or not, they did things to help out their roster for the playoffs. Boston getting Vucevic.
Bro, like Vucevic is a real guy,
To
whether
go
you
along with
love
Kata.
him or not.
He goes along with Kata as far
Yes.
as your
Are you
front
trying
court
to say
goes.
Justin Jessup is not a real guy?
Not until I see
Is it Justin or Justinian?
Justinian, you're right.
These like made up names.
Hey, it's easier, right? And then New York added Jose Alvarado for there, and they lost Deuce McBride, has to have some surgery, could be back for the playoffs. But as far as those two teams, they did something to help their rotation, where the Sixers gave up a player who was still in the rotation, not playing a lot of minutes and not as effective on the floor as you would like. But they did something where you did not. And then you can go to Toronto, adding just another body to give you some minutes at the center position, and Tracy Jackson Davis from Golden State. Other teams are doing something, and the Sixers moving on from play.
I will also add this, and Derek hammered this throughout the offseason in particular. I think what this shows, if they don't get something done, is that they erred in not getting Grimes on a tradable contract, because part of the reason that there are not a lot of paths for them to travel on here at the trade deadline is that their contracts are either low salary guys, and so Drummond is on one of the higher end of those at $5 million and max contracts. And so the paths to trading for like a Herb Jones for New Orleans, you have to sacrifice multiple rotation players to make that happen. They've already thinned out a rotation player by trading McCain. Like, they don't have a lot of options just purely from a salary matching financial angle. And some of that, in fact, a big chunk of that, was their own choice to say, Quentin Grimes, all we're offering you is like $100K raise on the qualifying offer. That's just simply not good enough. By the way, the Clippers are not moving Kawhi Leonard, according to Chris Haynes. Final 6 minutes of the deadline. So I'm glad I wasn't the only person thinking about Kawhi as we're heading into 3 p.m. here.
No, and like
I can feel Derek's frustration from across the set.
well, and a big thing, because the Quentin contract, like, we're not talking about offering him like 4 years, $80 million. We're talking about giving him a balloon 1 or 2 year deal, like something in the $15 million range. Not because you think he's worth $15 million per se, but so you have more trade flexibility. And, I think the Sixers came into it, and what they were kind of saying behind the scenes was, look, we get Quentin, a motivated Quentin, for another year. We get a chance. We feel strongly about bringing him back in free agency. Well, you've now gone through, and Quentin's not exactly been a reliable contributor. It would be much more beneficial to, yes, maybe you have to pay the luxury tax if you give Quentin a balloon contract, but you have a lot more tradability, a lot more flexibility at this time of year. And I do think we're seeing that they are hamstrung a little bit, although they still have, like, they can use that trade exception. That's what I'm focused on right now. Like, give me that trade exception. Use that. Get somebody. I will even take. And look, I have not been as big of a Sadiq Bey fan as Devon.
No,
has.
but at this point,
Now-
Sadiq Bey over literally nothing.
Literally, I will
would
take
him.
Sadiq Bey, especially after he just dropped 36 or whatever it was on our head a couple of days ago.
4 threes last night too.
He's been playing well. I mean, he played really well in Philadelphia in the recent game. So
Showcase, man. Showcase. All right, look, we have 4 minutes now before the trade deadline is in the books.
It is also. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just quickly, one more. Just because it hits 3 p.m. doesn't mean that we won't hear anything a few minutes after, because as Kyle mentioned, all you have to do is be on the phone or the paperwork in, and you are still good to go. But 4 minutes to go before the trade deadline is in the books.
It's just funny that like a week ago, Joel Embiid's like, "Don't duck the tax. Give me some help."
the
And
only thing he asked them not to do. currently is on schedule to happen.
Yeah.
I have a few texts out. I'm trying to see if pencils are down here
Look,
or if this is a...
Joel bullied Harris once to get them to pay workers during the pandemic. Not getting bullied again, Josh Harris.
I think this would be a pretty big mistake.
This would be a disappointment.
Yes.
Yeah, this deadline would be a disappointment to not do anything and to move on from McCain.
From what I am hearing, I think they're working on smaller moves, 10 days, buyout type stuff. I don't sense that anything is going to happen here.
Bree, we had a couple of super chats that are important for at least right now. Starting off with Attila. Is the team materially worse here this year without McCain? Is someone like
Devon's guy, Jed Howard, a possibility to
I
add
would
guard
lose
depth?
my mind. We have to have a sit down,
So-
Daryl Morey, if you acquire Jed Howard.
I just want to give Attila credit for two things. First of all, $20 super chat. Really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
That's
Attila.
incredible. But also paying attention enough to this show and to our
Understanding.
Discord to know exactly how to push Devon's buttons. I appreciate that more than you can understand.
But
no, they're not materially worse.
He is like
Not this
6'7".
year.
Yeah.
He is like
I think-
6'7", 6'8", but no.
I think you could argue the main argument around why you don't trade McCain is not about this season. It's about the future. It's about his upside. It's about, when he gets his legs under him, more opportunities. What does he look like then? Can he get closer to the old Jared? I don't think it really impacts this year, but that was never the argument.
Marcus Blackstock. By the way, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Sound like Matt Cord here. 2 minutes until the deadline is in the books. Marcus Blackstock says, this is an interesting one, y'all. Free Malik Beasley.
Oh, man.
Would you?
I mean,
At this
take
point,
the shooter,
you take
and
the
if
shot?
Adam Silver says no, that's like, all right, well, the opportunity cost wasn't much here. But
Derek, free Malik Beasley? No? You out?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
With the way things happen in Philadelphia, that situation would not work out in our favor.
It would go even worse for him. All right. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beat, says, think I'm done. Think I'm done with this franchise until Harris sells.
I mean, look.
We did all this for bums at the buyout. Terrible.
Here's the reality, and I tried to tell you this when they didn't offer Quentin more than $100K over his qualifying offer. Unless they feel like they have a high chance of competing for a title, they're not paying the luxury tax. They're just not doing it. Josh Harris is the easiest owner to predict. They have a great team, a team that can win the conference. He'll pay the luxury tax. If there's any, kind of hole in that armor and they don't feel great, they're going to duck it. It's just, that's the owner you have. You can be a fan or not. That's your choice.
yeah,
30 seconds.
you choose how to support this franchise however you want, including not supporting them.
Again,
none of us are going to stop you.
Since he bought the team, he has received more payments in luxury tax reimbursements to teams under the tax than he's paid in luxury tax payments, despite having a contender for a good chunk of the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
All right.
My disappointment is immeasurable right now. If this is truly there, and
by the
we'll
way,
get into this right after the deadline
just to
is
say
over.
that a chance to compete, they're right there in the mix. And if you
in
believe
the weakest version of
Yes.
the East that you're probably going to see for the foreseeable future.
if you look at this and you look at the teams that they would have to play in a series, and you play New York well already, what you figure out how you think you can match up against the Detroit Pistons. You go out there and you match up against the Pistons.
Yeah.
And Cleveland acquiring James Harden. All right, James Harden pretty well also, and you can see where things go from there. But they have a chance in any series. Now, will they be a favorite in these series? Don't know. But they have a chance in these series against these teams. And I that would be disappointing. All right, it is 3 o'clock, everybody. This is the PHLY Sixers NBA trade deadline special, and it is 3 p.m. where the Sixers, as of right now, a few minutes to go, just because of paperwork and on the phones already in, this is it. No more trades as of right now. Nothing is out there. Kyle and Derek not getting any updates.
No
and
trades.
Any sources.
No
No
trades.
trades.
No trades for the Sixers. So this is your basketball team outside of any 10 days and buyout candidates that you also still have to go up against other teams and convincing said player to come to your team with minutes available, etc. This is your basketball team right now.
I can't believe they
Thanks for
did
joining
nothing.
us. We are presented by Bet365. whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Derek, Kyle, Devon, Bree, Ethan hanging out with us as well. All of you in the chat, we really appreciate you hanging out with us on this Thursday. The NBA trade deadline now in the books, a very busy trade deadline. Sixers 2 moves. Jared McCain to the Oklahoma City Thunder for 3 picks, 1 first, 2 seconds. And at right around 2 o'clock this afternoon when we were just getting underway, Eric Gordon sent to the New Orleans Pelicans for some second-round picks as well. So that's where we are. Kyle, you have already said it. You will be disappointed if this is the end game. This is the end game.
I'm really disappointed because here's the other thing. One of the things that I hope I have impressed upon people over the last however many years I've been covering the team, the buyout market is crap. Like nobody good, I won't say nobody, very rarely does anybody good arrive at a team on a buyout. The reason that a lot of Sixers fans will get excited about the buyout market every year is because they have one of the rare examples getting Marco Bellinelli in 2018 as a guy who came in, played well right away, and is part of the rotation. By and large, anybody you're getting on a buyout ain't very good and is on the buyout market for a reason. So I don't put almost any expectations on a guy that they could add to this roster in that circumstance. You're probably going to see some guys get 10-day tryouts would be my expectation in the weeks ahead. And I'll repeat what I said yesterday. We've said it many times today. I think the Jared McCain trade on a pure talent valuation of where McCain is at, what he's going to be moving forward, is defensible. I think you could say they get a first-round pick and a very good draft. They get some seconds. They move on from a player who's the 4th guard in a rotation. I think that's all well and good. I think the problem is when you don't make another move here, you don't add a meaningful player to the rotation, and the return is later when you have to look at Tyrese Maxey, when you have to look at Joel Embiid, who specifically came out and said, I hope that what we do is not ducking the tax at the deadline, and that's the consequence of what you did. How can you be anything other than bothered by that? They could have made a deal like this in June, in July, whenever in the future. I don't understand why they had to make it now. You could have ducked the tax to get Barlow on a new deal in a different way. They had other options. I don't like the timing of it. I don't like the outcome of the deadline. We'll see what else happens, but I am not super pleased with this.
No. So now it really comes down to, and I'm like not going fire and brimstone now because you do still have a chance to use that. Like I've said this a lot. The draft is probably the second biggest trade day of the year. It might even be the biggest trade day of the year, and you still have that pick that you can use. So like the chance of using what you got from McCain isn't completely gone. I'm not sure that pick has more value than McCain in a trade, but you still have a chance to use that. So I am going to give them a little bit of rope, but no, I don't really like it at all. Like it's one thing to sit here and say, you know, because it really, I think maybe the most cogent argument for using McCain to get under the luxury tax was, well, it would have cost you assets to get rid of Drummond or cost you assets to get rid of Eric Gordon or Kyle Lowry. But then we saw how easily they got off of Eric Gordon today. So it's really how much do you value the assets that you got back for Jared McCain? And if they use it as trade at the draft, then okay. But if not, like the way I look at it, you know, that 25th, let's say the pick comes in at 25th. We've seen the Sixers in the past go like, I don't really want this late first round pick. Let's trade that for like 35 and a future second. Okay, so now you're sitting here with 5 second round picks for Jared McCain. Sixers don't tend to keep all of their second round picks. They tend to sell them. So let's say they sell 2 of them.
Or they
because
don't
they're
play those guys anyway. So even if you use the draft picks, like, there's no guarantee those guys are going to come in and play and help the team.
Let's just play it out where you keep 3 of them, maybe 1 of them hits, and you sell 2 of them. Okay, well, now you're looking at basically getting like 3 second-round picks for Jared McCain. That's basically what you use to trade for George Hill or Buddy Hield. And would I rather have a rental acquisition at a future deadline of a George Hill or Buddy Hield-esque player, or give Jared a chance to turn his career back around? And I think the answer is I would rather have Jared McCain. And look, nobody here is going to sit here and tell you, like, it's funny. We got killed when they selected Jared McCain because people didn't think we were high enough on Jared because we had concerns about his defensive fit next to Maxey. And now we're getting killed because people think we're overvaluing Jared. Whereas, you know, it is, those concerns are there, but I think he's shown enough last year where if you ask me like, all right, you have the 25th pick, So you have 2 future second-round picks, and you have Jared McCain, which is a player most likely.
I have a guard that might interest you.
Okay.
Cam Thomas is getting waived.
Get away. Get away.
He can score.
He's got fleas.
That's
Get him
just
away.
about
Get
all
him
he
away.
can do.
If you ask me what of those assets are the most likely to be a rotation player, I think it's going to be Jared. So, I understand the urge to hope that they can replace him with somebody who fits a little bit better. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Jared was going to contribute to the run now. My argument is I would have liked to have seen them give Jared a chance because what he showed last year, we focused a lot on the defensive fit next to Maxey, and that's 100% fair. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to play in a playoff rotation alongside of Tyrese Maxey. I don't know if what they got back can either. But what I do know is that his skill set is, if you're going to take a role player skill set, not a star skill set, a role player skill set, his offensive skill set is almost exactly what you'd want next to VJ, next to Tyrese, next to Joel. So I would have just liked to give them a chance to see it, because I really do think what we're seeing now is a combination of no training camp, the injury, having to figure this all out on the fly, and losing a little bit of confidence. I would have much rather given him a chance to see if they can get back to where it was, because I do think they hit a double on that draft pick last year. Not a home run, but a solid single or double on that 16th pick in a tough draft. I just want to see that play out.
How are we feeling, Devon?
Yeah, this is disappointing because we always expected it would be smaller moves around the margin. Even when we started the show here this afternoon, we knew that it wouldn't be anything big. Giannis, any of these other names that we threw out there, some hope for Tari Eason, something along those lines. But the Najee Marshall, Sadiq Bey kind of names, just something that's significant because when we look at the team, and I'm not saying that they don't, but when we look at this team and we see the East is open the way that it is, the way that it's operating right now, they've played well against these other teams, including Boston, even though Boston was playing poorly in the beginning of the year. You can still see where the Sixers feel like they could compete against that basketball team in a playoff series. So that's where it's disappointing for me, because while it may have been unexpected, you also were just simply hoping that Joel Embiid would be able to be back, and he's been back. And Derek, you said it, and Kyle, you followed up on it, that is you don't want to, and I'll even go to Davon's last super chat where Davon had said, Maxey, it was a serious question. What message does it send to Maxey and Embiid and the rest of the team, and what reaction could you get out of Rich Paul? But it's more about the Embiid and the Maxey piece of it.
Rich Paul doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Rich Paul sees his guy on a max contract starting in the All-Star game.
Yeah. He cares about his guy getting touches and playing time, not so much about
So that's where it's disappointing, because as the guys had it on the video at PHLY_Sixers on our Twitter account, on our show account, Joel said, please don't duck the tax. And right here, you can bring in Cam Thomas or some of the. I really
hope not.
No, I'm just saying. You can bring in
I understand,
Cam Thomas,
but
Lonzo Ball, and Hayward Highsmith, and all these guys, and that's not going to equal what you could have done potentially at this trade deadline to add some pieces around the margin to help out. Didn't have to be a starter. You have some starters already. Could you add and provide a solid bench piece at the wing position or guard, or all in one package right there, or just help out with the backup bigs when Joel does have to miss some time or come off the floor, where the lack of trust is there for Andre Drummond and Adem Bonus. So that's why I'm disappointed in it. This had a chance to be something pretty good, of just getting a nice player to go along here. And you swing and you get on Marco Bellinelli. You add Ersan Ilyasova. He worked out in that same buyout period as well. Those players are not out there. They're just not. And that's where it is really disappointing, because while we've talked about this team having a chance, it was also with the possibility of them adding somebody today by 3 o'clock, and they did not do that.
I think the thing that I find weird about all of it is they just are straddling this middle ground where it's okay, you don't have enough confidence in Joel Embiid and Paul George at this point where you're willing to make win now moves. And that's fine, right? We know what their health history is. You can regret the contracts and say we don't want to continue to throw more good money after bad. That's fine. But if that's the case, then there should probably be more ardent discussions about, should Paul George and Joel Embiid be on this basketball team moving forward? And there is nothing out there to suggest the Sixers have thought about that. So like they're trying to straddle this perfect middle ground where you're not giving up future stuff, but you're getting great Joel Embiid over the last 2 months, and you're not willing to commit anymore to it. And it just ends up in a similar place, admittedly with better top-end players, that they tried to get out of, 13 years ago at this point, where it's like middle ground. You don't want to be in the middle ground. Right now, they are a perpetual second round or worse team with big money guys on the books. They just traded one of their young players who had any kind of promise. And look, I have been on the side of Jared McCain is having one of the worst seasons of any rotation player in the NBA. There's obviously context to that. So I'm not especially broken up about, boy, they lost Jared McCain for this year. It's just what it represents. You're bringing on first round picks and draft capital and accomplishing what exactly? What is that helping you do now, next year, 3 years down the road? Dominic Barlow on a standard NBA contract is not enough to justify what they've done. Like that, just flat out, there needed to be more, and there wasn't, and that's really disappointing.
Which again, you could have converted Dominic Barlow without trading him, without trading McCain. Like you could have, traded Kyle Lowry. I know you need all the coaches you can get. You could have traded Kyle Lowry and still done the same thing. So it's not it's look, if they end up using this flexibility, if they end up using the space they created
optionality
by clearing McCain's contract on, let's say, Hayward Highsmith, he might be more. He'd probably be more useful both through this stretch run and in the playoffs than Jared, just because of positional need, just because of Jared, how much he's struggling. But to me, the point of why I wouldn't have traded Jared isn't about the rest of the year. It's about giving him a chance to get back to where he was last year.
That was the whole point. So let's just talk about that a little bit more here. As Jared McCain traded to OKC, 3 picks in the deal, because there's a lot of chatter in there about how we talked about Jared McCain during the season and where we are right now at 3-13 after he is now in OKC and not part of the team. Sixers didn't do anything else. Derek said it. It was about what he was doing this year. He wasn't good. That didn't mean trade him. That meant he wasn't good. And you add some more pieces to add some depth to this basketball team where it's not falling on him. And if you believe in the player, you give him an opportunity to come back next season and get his legs underneath him. We talked about this very topic yesterday when we brought up Tim Legler saying that he's going to be up and down this year. He has to get his legs back underneath him. It's going to take some time. If you believe in the player and what he does, just understand that there are going to be some frustrations throughout the year. You talk about it as he's out there on the floor. If he's out there, you evaluate what he's doing. That's just the name of the game. You have to evaluate it the same way you can evaluate each one of our shows and saying, yeah, Devon didn't do a good show that day.
We would never say that.
That's
never.
all right. You say that because if it wasn't good, it wasn't good. You bounce back tomorrow. Jared McCain hasn't been good. He's had stretches of some good games, but for the most part this season, he wasn't good. That doesn't mean trade him, especially if you're not doing anything else. You give him an opportunity to get his legs back underneath him, get through this injury, come back next year, and hopefully he's back to being himself. And that's where the whole discord came from, all the discussion. The discourse came from with the discussion, not because you want to backtrack and say that you weren't saying this before and he wasn't important before. No, it's just we knew he wasn't good. We're talking about him in the moment not being good. Now go add some more stuff to it if you didn't have to include him in any of the deals. And they moved him in a deal that didn't include a player to bring back to replace him on the roster and in the rotation. And that's where this whole thing with the Jared McCain stuff comes from. You evaluate it. You saw it. We all saw it. We saw the same thing. He wasn't good.
Yeah.
Couldn't make shots.
He was shooting
dribble.
38.5% from the field.
He wasn't good. That doesn't mean you don't like him. That just means this season he was not good.
No, and I've been maintaining, I've been very consistent over the last month. Hasn't been good. Still believe in him.
Yep.
Both things can 100% be true. Believe in him offensively, at least.
So I will once again circle back to, for the people who are the most upset, as much as the tax ducking and all the other things are at play here, this also just fundamentally comes down to a talent evaluation thing. And going back to things Daryl has said on the record, in public, in multiple formats, podcasts, radio, TV, whatever it might be, there was never at any point from like last June onward a commitment to Jared as any kind of core piece of this organization. They didn't know in June they were taking VJ, like the pretty strong lean, but there was still obviously some debate happening there. And even then, when they're getting asked questions as an organization about playing Maxey and McCain together, McCain and how do you make him work depending on who you draft, et cetera, they never centered him. It was always Maxey's the guy, the number 3 overall pick, whoever that is going to be super important. And Jared is, he's a nice young player. And so for that to already be where they were at coming into the offseason, post-injury, post him having the crazy 15 to 20 game run, when he then comes in and disappoints this year, I think a lot of this is as simple as they looked at Jared, they looked at the next couple years, and they said, we're not going to get more value from him down the road, either as a guy on the team or a guy on the trade block. And I think part of the calculus has to be Jared was never going to get an opportunity with this team that would allow him to either return outsized value for this team or improve his value enough where it's like, hey, they're going to get an even better first round pick or they're going to get multiple first round picks, because any addition to the roster that would help out Jared McCain is likely going to help out Maxey and VJ. And that addition to the roster is going to play more than Jared McCain. It's why, I think Derek has pushed back on this, and we can probably debate this. The whole, the best he can be is a sixth man, and a good sixth man is valuable to this team. But I don't even see a path to him being that with the way things are laid out right now. And that has to be what they think. I just can't imagine another reason other than they don't think he's good enough. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But you can't make this trade just based on salary reasons. It has to be somewhat basketball related.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've never thought he was going to be more than a 6-man, mostly because of the fit next to Maxey. But that doesn't mean I want to trade him. I've seen a lot of people say, if you can't start here, then why keep him? Because bench players, especially bench players who can score you 12 points in 4 minutes some days, are very helpful. Yes. I think there's a couple things going on here. One, I think Daryl, especially on role players, bench players, listens to his coach. We saw that a couple years ago with Doc and Isaiah Joe. We're seeing it now. I think Nurse didn't like Jared, and if Nurse is going to play Jared, I think Daryl probably thinks, well, then let me at least recoup some value while I still can. At least they did that rather than what they did with Joe, which was cutting him. So I think that's playing part of it. I think Daryl is almost entirely focused on using his resources to get stars. He feels like he can find the next Jared McCain, whether that's in the draft, first round, second round, undrafted, two-way. You're seeing it play out. We're watching Don Barlow probably get converted here in the next, if not today, in the next couple days. He feels he can get role players with less premium assets. So I think he's probably looking all right, coach isn't going to play him. I can get a draft pick. Maybe I can use that draft pick at the draft. That's what we're going to do. And also, I don't have to give up resources to get off of get under luxury tax. So he's probably feels like he is placating both Josh Harris by creating optionality.
We're going to hear that so many times, and it's going to make me mad every time.
And also, he probably feels like, Nurse is going to play him, so I'm just going to get something for him, which I don't agree with. I like I said, I would give Jared the chance to get back on track. I believe in the offensive skill set and the value that has next to. I don't need him to be a starter to stay on the roster, but they feel differently.
Especially if you don't have anybody to replace him on the roster right now. All right, we're going to take our next break here on the show. A long one for us here. 2 to 4 for the PHLY Sixers draft special. Jared McCain, Eric Gordon out. No other players in. On the other side, I am going to throw at the guys, and we will get to some more super chats, and we are going to also get to all the moves that happened throughout the league over the trade deadline. Trae Young, dating back to that. Some big names this week, earlier in the week. Ask all of you and the guys some of these buyout candidates. We're going to throw some names at Kyle and Derek and Bree and Ethan and all of you and see if you're interested in any of these players for the Philadelphia 76ers. So stay tuned. When we come back, we will get to the buyout candidates, what it looks like, and then recap the trade deadline that not a lot of news for the Philadelphia 76ers. The PHLY Sixers trade deadline special presented by Bet365. Time to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Over 90 million users worldwide, 780 live events each year, and you get early payouts in the NBA and the NHL. Where else are you getting that? Nowhere but Bet365. And you can always find great super profit boosts, regular profit boosts as well. It's a great place to place your wagers on the games that you love. Also, for new customers and new customers only, guess what? You get $200 in bonus bets when you sign up. That's right, win or lose. You're also getting that nowhere else but Bet365. All you have to do is sign up using the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $200 in bonus bets credit to your account. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, next up, we want to tell you about Xfinity and their 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only, restrictions apply.
Back on the PHLY Sixers draft special. Sixers making 2 moves for picks there. I'm sorry, Justin, his name is.
Justinian.
Now, no, it's Justin on this show. Justin Jessup.
No, Justinian
Jessup coming back to Philadelphia, and we'll see.
No, he won't. He is not coming.
We'll see if he ever visits Philadelphia at all.
His rights will float through the universe like many of these other guys.
All right, so I wanted to throw some names at all of you guys, Kyle, Derek, Bree, Ethan, all of you, maybe for some of these candidates, possibly, if you have any interest, and we'll get to your super chats as well. So let me start with the name that we just talked about, and I was looking at our buddy Mike Scotto from Hoops Hype. Haywood Highsmith of the Brooklyn Nets didn't play a lot this year. He had meniscus surgery, but he was scheduled to make his return next week, and he's playing 5-on-5s, feels healthy. Would you, Derek, have any interest in Haywood Highsmith? And again, all of these are just simply, this is where we are right now. Not to make up for McCain gone and replacing all. It's just simply, this is where we are. Do you have any interest in these players, and why or why not?
Yeah, I mean, assuming the health checks out. Like, he had turned himself into a pretty reliable catch and shoot player his last 2 years in Miami. A pretty capable defender. Not really going to do much outside of that. But those two things almost by itself, if he gets back to that spot, would get him in the rotation. Now, if you're the Sixers' perspective and you've got realistically one buyout guy to sign, is a guy with that big of a history question mark or injury question mark, and just that hasn't been playing basketball, is that the guy that you target? Like, it might take him 2 months to even get remotely back up to speed. But yeah, I would have interest.
Do you have enough runway for that? You have 2 months of a runway for him?
I mean, they just really could use another wing that can shoot. So, yeah, I'd have interest.
Kyle?
Here's the question. Are you playing him over Justin Edwards? And, my opinions on Justin Edwards are a matter of public record, but are you pulling a guy who has not played in a while off the street, throwing him in the rotation over a guy who's a young player who, at least in theory, you care about and has been in and out of the rotation?
I would say yes, they would be, to try to ramp him up to get him ready for the playoffs. So in order to do that, he has to play. So I would say yes.
Yeah, and the theoretical Haywood Highsmith is a player I would like, but I have absolutely no idea what he has to offer right now because I haven't seen him play in a while. So again, as Derek mentioned, it's a guy who turned himself into a pretty good shooter. Like, he's at 39, 38% in back-to-back years, admittedly on low volume. Someone who doesn't need the ball in his hands a whole lot, who is at least like a passable defender. I won't call him a great defender, but someone with, enough size and enough defensive ability that he could play for Eric Spoelstra. If you can play for Eric Spoelstra.
And playoff experience.
Yeah, generally you can play elsewhere. So I would be fine with it. I think he's probably one of the bigger, I won't say bigger names, one of the more, bigger names. I guess there's no other way
Which
to put
really
it.
tells you what Kyle thinks
tells you
about
what
the
I think of the
buyout
buyout
market.
market.
Point of the buyout market. But these are the names that are probably the biggest ones. All right, let's move on. He's out there, Cam Thomas.
Nope.
No,
Please.
He is the type of guy I do not want on any basketball team where I'm attempting to win. He's a talented guy, but I don't
talented.
think you win with him.
Yeah, he
No.
can clearly score. No.
Yeah, and I saw that Mike Scotto did say that the Indiana Pacers, I thought, and the Milwaukee Bucks, I think Mike said, were
Two very different teams.
looking around and talking with them about Cam Thomas. But we did report yesterday that I think it was also Mike who said yesterday that he was not with the team when they traveled and he did not play last night. This is the reason, because he was waived. And it's crazy too, because he did what was his option this summer when he picked his was a little bit more than Quentin Grimes as far as the money. I think it was a little bit more, right around $6 million, I think his was.
Yeah.
And so he's out there, and Cam Thomas, no for all three of us here. And I listen, I know a lot of people are in there and they see Cam Thomas, they know he can score the basketball. That he can do. But man, it can get frustrating with defense is not good. He doesn't pass the basketball. He will turn the ball over because he has tunnel vision.
Yes.
And it can get really, really tricky with Cam Thomas. And he's always been in a non-playoff situation. But no.
You just wait until there's 10 seconds left. Other team denies Maxey. Sixers inbound it to Cam instead, and he just ISOs you to death late in the game. You will drive you up a wall.
And there's a need for players like that, but not here and not with him. No Cam Thomas for me. I saw some that said yes to Cam Thomas there in the chat. Do we have any in the super chat that says Cam Thomas?
He is the definition of that boy nice.
No. Okay. Yeah, he is. You can put together a compilation on Twitter and run with it for 3 minutes because he has a lot of stuff. He's got some buckets. But no, not if you're trying to win with this basketball team, Cam Thomas. All right, let's get to the next one. Chris Boucher, apparently traded from Boston to Utah.
I think he's cooked.
Apparently he's going to be waived. It's a name. History with Nick Nurse.
3 years ago, sign me up for buyout Chris Boucher.
There's a reason that he's available.
Yes.
Again, that's the theme here. It's like anyone who is earnestly telling you this buyout guy is going to change the team, I think they're full of it. Like it's not a thing that tends to impact teams except on the highest of high-end outcomes.
Yeah.
And there are not a lot of those.
That's usually teams who are the favorites, not teams who have an outside chance.
Right, like what's your case to most of these guys to actually come here? Like in the
Highsmith
cases
is the easy
of
one. Height, experience, can shoot at the wing.
How do you
how
sell
are
it
you
to him?
convincing?
To them. That's why I said you're going to have competition with
Yes.
these other teams. That why are they going to choose the Sixers over them? Now, I would say for Highsmith, you have some wing minutes there for you, waiting for you. You do. You have some wing minutes waiting for you. So that's my pitch there with him. He has some wing minutes. He's familiar with the organization. He was here before, and an opportunity to have some real playing time waiting for him with this basketball team. That's my case to him.
I also think, like, if you're talking about Boucher, especially now that Drummond miraculously is still on the team, like, guard depth is, I think, more important than big man depth.
That being said, I don't want to play any of the guards that are available on the buyout market.
Yeah.
Play 3 guards. Trendon Watford, you're the 4th guard. That, to me, I think that is kind of, with McCain gone, this is a commitment to playing Trendon Watford in some way. I'm not saying that's why the Sixers did it, but I think an unintentional, maybe intentional outcome is Trendon Watford's going to have to play because he's one of the few guys on the team that can actually put the ball on the floor and play.
And you saw some of that against Golden State, where he had 16 off the bench with 8 boards, 3 assists in that game. So I did also have, even though I have the names, I was going to bring up Trendon Watford, and you're also going to get once the suspension's done, Paul George is going to be back, and we have, I'm not kidding, right? We are missing him for 25 games. We're going to be picking him back up when he comes back from his suspension. And those are 2 of the guys that are going to handle a lot of that responsibility that we're discussing.
I also just think some people have not gotten used to, despite the fact that he's been on the team since 2014, when you have a max contract center, a max contract guard, your guard depth is not going to really matter. What matters is what is the performance level that you get out of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and the number 3 overall pick. There is this idea that man, if you just sign a true point guard, that's going to change it. No, the offense is running through a post-up, face-up center from the nail and in. The offense is running through Tyrese Maxey. The offense is running through Paul George and VJ Edgecombe. VJ can dribble the ball up past half court and pass it to somebody. Same with Tyrese Maxey. This idea that boy, if you got a Mike Conley type player, and Mike Conley would be a high end based on you're going to sign Chris Paul off the buyout market because he's not going to report to Toronto. That does not make a material difference for this team. I do not care about Kyle Lowry at the end of the bench. I do not care about another guard being added because if they are playing at all, it's bad. It doesn't matter if it's the guy on the roster or a guy who they're going to add to the roster. The guys who are driving this team are Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Paul George, period. I don't need guys who are going to, hey, I know the plays. I can open the playbook and tell you what Nick Nurse wants to run. If they play a Chris Paul type guy in a playoff game, that's bad. That's really bad. You don't want any of these guys on the roster. Get wings, get guys with size who can rebound, shoot, and switch. Enough of the 37, 38-year-old guys at the end of the bench who do nothing to change the outcome for this team.
So you don't want George Hill?
Oh, my God. His stint here, boy, that was a real treat to sit through.
We mentioned this yesterday, but they haven't done it. Dallas. We said it. If he was the only one that they can choose from, would you add Chris Middleton if he decided on the buyout? 35, 36, older player. But based on these names, would you even have any interest in Chris Middleton if they let him out there? All right,
because he can shoot. That's the thing. He's a guy who could just be a shooter who is not 6 feet tall.
Yeah. All right. So you already said no to Chris Paul, so I'm not going to bring that name up.
Derek might feel differently. That was
Earlier we brought up Lonzo Ball, taller point guard, but the guys said no. I agree, not on him.
What actually? I want to check just for the sake of argument. Lonzo Ball is shooting 30% from the field
on a good team.
Yeah, on a team where he's probably the 3rd most important perimeter player in all of his minutes. That's not good. He ain't good.
Not good. All right.
Who else?
Now we're going to have some fun here.
I had another name. I'm not banging the table for him.
Is he already
Pat Connaughton got waived.
I mean, look, he couldn't play for Charlotte, but I would be interested in him stealing 5 to 7 minutes.
He's a rebounding guard.
If need be.
I don't want to play him either. No. I don't want to play any of these guys.
No. But he can probably give you 5 to 7 minutes, hit a shot. And look, they created shots for other guys in Charlotte. It's Lonzo, it's LaMelo Ball. It is, in fact, Concanippo and Brandon Miller. He would have more space here, though, where he might just get wide open shots with Joel and Tyrese Maxey because of the gravity that we talk about the big man. There was no double teaming any bigs there. So the ball might find Pat Connaughton and could potentially do something there. For 5 to 7 minutes occasionally, I wouldn't be mad at it.
Frankly, I might want to convert.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
They have not played MarJon Beauchamp a single minute on his 2-way deal. I might convert him to a standard deal before I would sign a guard and some of these buyout guys.
Yeah, I want to see.
At least he's He's a guy that's a wing athlete with a pulse.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll take my chances.
So here about Pat Connaughton, this might sway you. He was also a heck of a baseball prospect.
Yes, he was.
And I know how much you value that
Yeah,
sport.
my big time baseball fandom over here.
Yes, he was. Here's a fun one. George Niang, friend of the show.
I love George, but
Nurse ain't playing him.
I was gonna say I don't think he's getting on the. Now look, he can shoot the ball at least theoretically, but
I haven't seen him make a shot since last year in the
it's
Cleveland playoffs.
been tough sledding for
Yes,
him.
it has. Yeah. And final one that I have, and maybe you guys have some more. You already said Pat Connaughton. Doc Reith traded from Portland to Atlanta.
Isn't he hurt?
And it looks like Atlanta is waiving him.
I want to say he's out injured. If
Is
I
he
remember
injured?
I think so. Which is why that trade was a little confusing to me in the first place.
Let me see.
But
Yeah. So really, no, except for Haywood Highsmith on this entire list. And that's it.
and the guy who we said maybe or yes to has been out for like the whole season with a meniscus recovery.
Yeah.
Not good.
Who, by the way, they just traded a guy whose meniscus recovery wasn't going too well this
But
year.
hey, optionality, right?
Yeah,
You got Janai Broom, man. You're all good. Got Janai Broom.
I would be happy with some form of front court depth. Like anybody who's 6'8" or taller who can rebound and maybe hit an occasional three.
That's where, see, so when we say disappointed for this entire trade deadline, that's where I now go back to the draft. You hit on VJ Edgecombe. We pumped up that 33rd overall pick, and there were some players there, man, that you can just play some minutes on this team, and Janai Broom cannot get on the floor. That was your 33rd overall pick, and he cannot get on the floor for you right now. Other teams have their players in the second round playing, and you're just simply asking them to go out there and provide some minutes for you, rebound, hit a shot, steal some minutes for some of the players to get a little bit of rest. He cannot get on the floor, and that is very frustrating. We try to give them an opportunity. Hey, he has this whole resume coming from Auburn, All-American, great story, all of that. This team, it didn't make sense, and he cannot get on the floor. Cannot get on the floor. It's ridiculous that they wasted that pick. Sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. We were confused about that pick the second they made it.
I'm pretty sure we were confused before they made it because Devon's going like, who out of these do you like? And we all pretty much said, not Janai Broom.
That was a rough.
It was perfect
second
for us
round
because we set it
draft
up right.
stream that night. We're sitting there like, man, a lot of interesting options on the table, and they didn't take any of them.
He can't play minutes. They need minutes.
Yeah,
He can't, even as we talk about the front court with Bona and Drummond, or maybe getting another guy to come in here when we talk about Misi and some of these other names, he is a big man that cannot play minutes. It is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that he cannot get out there on the floor for this team. They spent a 33rd overall pick on him where there were players around him. And I understand the contract thing that has been talked about out there. And Reyno is in Sacramento getting a lot more bad team, but you could use what he does on this group. And look, man, I don't see anything changing now going forward with Janai Broom for the remainder of the season with the 30 games that they have.
And to add on to what you're saying, we talked about it at the time. It certainly looks the same now. There are multiple directions you could go with that pick. You get somebody who's a definitive skill guy who can play in the rotation. In Reyno's case, it's stretch big. Like that's what you think of him coming in. Or you try to take a swing on an upside candidate. Like my guy that I kept banging the table for was Adu Thiero, who has not played a ton this year for the Lakers, but at the very least is a humongous athlete on the wing. And you say, I'll just take my chances that he can figure it out. He can be a switchable defender, cut off of other guys, whatever. And they didn't accomplish either of those things. They got a low upside guy who can't get on the floor, who his definitive skill, by the way, coming into the league is one of the major things that they need, rebounding, and they still won't play him. So if Janai Broom can't get on the floor when their most pressing need, one of the most pressing needs they have on the team is the thing that you do, why are you drafting him? And frankly, some of that is because he was willing to take the contract that they were going to offer to the player they selected with that pick. And that circles back more to ownership. Bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
No, I mean, the way you win that second round is by trading up. And they always have a stockpile of second round picks. They don't always get the great best use out of them. But they had picks they could trade. And there was some good players that went in the 4 picks before them.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's take our final break, everybody. We'll get to your super chats on the other side. Run through the main trades that happened during the trade deadline, not involving the Philadelphia 76ers. It's the PHLY Sixers trade deadline special. All right, I was heading into work this morning because we had an early morning meeting, and I said, you know what? I forgot to grab something out of the house. No worries. Right to Wawa I go. It's right near my home, and it's an institution here in Philadelphia. So if you ever want to go from 5 to 11 a.m., you make sure you hit up Wawa for the great offer, the $5 deal where you can get any Sizzly, any size hot or iced coffee, and a hash brown, all for $5 at Wawa. So for me, I was starving. You know what I needed? I needed my Sizzly, sausage and cheese on a biscuit. Good to go. I'm good there. French vanilla coffee and the hash brown. Now I'm ready to go, sit in this meeting and feel pretty good. I'm ready to discuss some things, all because I was able to go to the great place that is Wawa. Once again, available only in the morning from 5 to 11 a.m. If your morning calls for something sweet, then try the new caramel and chocolate craze flavors as well. No need to overthink breakfast. Just grab, go, and get on with your day. Gotta have a Wawa.
Next up, we want to tell you about Mars Men. Because, guys, we've all felt it. Once you hit your mid-30s, suddenly everything that used to be easy isn't. And we barely ever talk about it, but it needs to be discussed. It hit me like a brick wall right around the age of 34. Same workouts, same diet, but I felt like I was moving through mud. Because here's the thing. Most men start losing testosterone right around the age of 30 and lose about 1% every year after that. Here's what Mars Men does. It helps your body unlock usable testosterone so you can feel like yourself again. Mars Men includes no synthetics and uses no needles, just real ingredients that help optimize energy, focus, and strength. And Mars Men has a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts at checkout. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that our show sent you.
All right, final segment here on the PHLY Sixers trade deadline special. Jared McCain, Eric Gordon, the only ones on the move, no players back. We now watch the buyout market to see what happens there. Let's get to your super chats because we have a ton of those. And we thank everybody for watching the show, jumping in, sending all of these in. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Hit the like button, like and subscrib.
Do you want the guy with working eyes to
No, she made
She
the
made
screen
it bigger
big.
there,
Good.
so we're all good.
Oh, this is something.
Rez says, I checked the merch shop, but couldn't find any PHLY branded pitchforks. What's with that?
I'll talk to our merch guy. We'll get working on that. Thank you, Rez.
Appreciate it, Rez. Last year we had the tank helmets, but we didn't sell those on the PHLY shop either. But thank you.
We did give them away, though.
We did give them away.
We
did give them away. Thank you, Rez. John says, fire Morey. Sell the team. Josh Harris, he's a loser.
Effing loser, he said.
John, a lot of people agree with you there, John. Not happy.
Not winning a popularity contest in Philadelphia right now, that's for sure.
No, he is not.
And that's before you get to the real life stuff that's going on with Josh Harris right now.
Got to go spin on that defensive end for the Washington Commanders. Save that space. Is that Kimmy? What up, Kim?
Hello, Kim.
At least we have you guys. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim, for the support.
And the Wawa Cups. Thank you, Kim.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that. Davon, Maxie damn near cried. Voice cracking and all that for Jarrett getting traded, and we don't even try to get better on a human level. It's a terrible thing, guys.
Yeah, look, Jared was popular in the locker room. And remember back like a year and a half ago when we were in the Bahamas, and Joel's like, he's been the best player on the court. We're like, Joel, you're crazy. And it turns out he was playing really good basketball.
He was being very truthful.
And he was very upfront about how impressed he was.
Said that?
What was that?
Nick Nurse said it,
yeah.
too.
Well, one of those opinions definitely changed.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
But he's
not a lot of permanence there.
No. But he really seemed like not only did the guy, like a lot of the team like him, but the key players on the team really like Jared.
I mean, here's the thing.
He was a fan favorite, too. People like Jared McCain.
And that's the part that I understand where people are coming from. internally and externally, because we've told you guys all along. Part of why Jared has the reputation he does, they all see the work that he puts in. This is not someone who's skipping steps, who's missing workouts, who's frankly even hanging his head when things are going poorly this year. He is a hard worker who cares, who wants to be as good as he can be. Like, I don't know what his upside is. I truly don't. I don't know if that 15 to 20 game sample last year means much in light of the injury, in light of his size, all that stuff. I do feel very, very confident. Whatever Jared McCain's ultimate upside is, I think he will hit it, because he's going to give himself every single opportunity to do so.
Yep. Appreciate it. Reardon says, I'm extremely frustrated by this team. I constantly defend. I will not renew my season tickets. It's the only thing I can do to show my disdain.
And we have a similar, in the similar vein, from June, who says, no one expected Maxey to be all NBA, McCain to be rookie of the year candidate, Joel to be healthy again, PG to contribute, Barlow to be a starter, or the East to be wide open. All that happened, but Josh Harris does not care. And so I want to combine the ideas that are there. To me, one of the things that is most upsetting, rage-inducing, however you want to put it, is that they just keep pushing off what they are creating flexibility for into the distance. It's always, boy, we were able to acquire this. This is going to give us options. If this breaks this way, we can do something at the deadline. Well, the deadline, nothing presented itself. This summer, we're going to have optionality. Well, now it's the next, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And you push it off and you push it off and you say, well, at some point, we're going to have an opportunity. And there's a lot of just waiting for the perfect thing to happen instead of, let's do a good thing. Let's make this team better now. Let's take on some risk. Let's say, Joel Embiid, you're cooking. Tyrese Maxey, all NBA candidate, starter in the All-Star game. Paul George, bounce back year. VJ, playing well. Take a chance to try to win. It's always just the most cautious approach that you can take without actively sabotaging the team. When you do it once, it's like we're being prudent. We're adding assets. This is a thing you can spin as a smart thing to do. When over and over again, it's abundance of caution mode, it makes you look cheap, it makes you look risk averse, and it makes you look like winning is not ultimately the thing that is driving the decision making. That, to me, is what's most frustrating about this deadline.
Yeah, I'm done writing about the flexibility that the KJ Martin balloon deal gives you when they never actually end up using the KJ Martin balloon deal except deduct the luxury tax at the deadline. They've just been so... When was the last real win-now move that they made?
Outside of them saying Paul
Buddy
George?
Hield, I guess.
You talking about trade deadline?
Like a trade, yeah, because
Paul
not
George.
drafting. Yeah, it's Paul
Like
George.
signing Paul George.
Yeah.
And to Kyle's point, and the point of the super chat, you've had so much go right. You've had Tyrese's development. You have Joel Embiid, getting back to a level that most people didn't think he would be able to get to. And quite frankly, just playing so regularly that most people didn't think he would ever play this regular.
And you hit on VJ.
You've got VJ playing at a great level right from the start of his career.
He's driving winning. He's not
Yes.
just good for a rookie. He's helping them win. That does not happen. You don't draft guys like Cooper Flagg is with a bunch of veterans. In theory, it's like, hey, he could win down there. They're terrible.
You've got Don Barlow. Do something to help this group. It's just been a while since they've actually done that.
Jared McCain and the OKC Thunder will be in Philadelphia on March 23rd, everybody. So we'll get to see Jared McCain with his new team.
He's
and
definitely getting an ovation.
100%. 100%. And it's going to be a big ovation, I'd imagine. So stay tuned for whenever we do his first big game with the Thunder and we do an Ace Hardware temperature check, who's heating up, who's cooling off. And Jared McCain hits 7 threes for the Thunder, helping them win. Stay tuned for that. June also says no one expected them to keep the pick. No one expected them to pick top 3. No one expected VJ to be this special, and certainly this special this soon. So there's that. This draft class is really good. You got a good one. Wish you would have done some other things. All right, Damian says, either commit to being young or improve marginally to compete. Don't sell your young talent to deduct the tax, or are we Sixer fans asking for too much? Also says, imagine being Morey having to do his presser, LOL.
Yeah, I can't imagine there are going to be a lot of like, boy, Are you excited about Justinian Jessup?
Paul George will be back.
I mean, he's going to spin that like we feel like we have a chance to compete this year, and we got a draft pick that we'll use in June's draft, and blah, blah, blah.
Hold on. Do my eyes deceive me?
It says corporate.
Corporate B Pumper. Has B Pump been in hiding as VJ goes on a rampage through the NBA while Ace does not do that? Anyone who's not deep in the show lore, B Pump was a big time VJ hater who's now back to say, and I know this is him now because big Janai Broom fan.
Guy, yep.
Corporate B Pumper says Janai Broom slander will not be tolerated on this program, sir.
Accept it. He has not
Deal
been
with
good.
it.
He has not been
Welcome
good.
back, Pump. I'm glad they got you out of witness protection, by the way. I hope your trip to Topeka, Kansas was a lot of fun over the last 6 months.
Sam Martin says, how do you explain, and we've talked about this a little bit, how do you explain to Joel that we decided to make the team objectively worse after your miraculous recovery and publicly asking to improve the team, end quote. How do you explain that? I don't know.
You don't.
I don't know.
I don't know that there is an explanation.
Yeah.
He made a public appeal to you, and you didn't care.
And you
That's
can say-
that's as clear a message as you can send.
We tried to get this player. We tried to get that player. You didn't do it. And you traded away Jared McCain in the process as well. Strongman, thank you, by the way. Strongman says, woke up at 2:30 in Brisbane, Australia for this.
Briz, baby.
What up, Strongman?
Go Lions.
Now in the it's so over phase of Philly sports doom cycle, at least I can look forward to Stout's run game next year. Oh, by the way, Stout's gone now. He retired.
What a crappy week it's been in Philadelphia sports.
Got baseball coming, Kyle.
Guys can go take those pitchers and catchers and do something I can't say on the show.
They'll be frustrating too.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to lose to the Dodgers again.
Thank
Who
you
have
to
more money than God.
all of you.
Have an
for
ownership
your-
group that cares about winning. That's
for your
nice.
super chats. All right, let's run through some of these. Well, because maybe we'll do something a little bit more with that a little bit later. But just a disappointing trade deadline here after everything that was done, all the movement. Kyle, it wasn't just you saying thought it might be a quieter deadline. We all thought it would be that way. But then when it really got going, like, oh, they might actually get in the mix. Let's talk about Najee Marshall and Sadiq Bey and Yves Missi and Day'Ron Sharp. And you get nothing.
Anybody.
You get nothing.
And it really is because like a lot of the players we were talking about didn't end up getting moved, which is why the Ayo part was just like.
But there were some other names that you didn't expect to get moved.
Yeah.
And they were moved, and you're saying, okay, can I get it? Even like the Jock Landale piece of him going from Memphis to Utah, then to Atlanta, and it looks like Atlanta's going to keep him. I would have been all right with that as another big behind Joel Embiid. I would have been fine with that. So just a really disappointing run here for the Sixers as far as this trade deadline goes. Stay tuned for all that may or may not happen with the buyouts. They might try, but the player also and the agent have to pick a spot that's best for them. Do they see Philadelphia as a spot worth choosing?
Daniel said they can go out and sign Dwayne Dedman for the third time now. What is Dwayne Dedman even doing, man? I have completely lost track of where in the world he is. That'd be a fun who he play for on Inside if they did it. Let's see. Dwayne Dedman last played for the Ontario Clippers of the NBA G League. Wiki says that he's nicknamed the Mechanic. I have literally never heard that before. So
Didn't know you that.
today I learned Basketball Reference has some of the funniest made-up nicknames
Yes.
of all time, by the way. That should be we should do a segment on that at some point.
Yeah,
Guess the player. Bree gives us
Based
the
on the
nickname.
Basketball Reference nickname.
Bree gives us the nickname. We have to guess the player. All right, that's a good idea. We'll do that.
Oh, man.
Finally seeing some of these Tyrese Maxey things where he's talking about how he was his little brother and Jared McCain and, just upset that he was moved.
Yeah,
So,
like,
a lot of those guys, to your point, really had a good connection with Jared McCain.
Derek already said he was very well liked, and it's about already brought up the work ethic stuff. Also, just a really pleasant person every single day, even as he was going through the big slump this year and the recovery. Like there was not a moment where I saw Jared taking that out on other people or even taking that out on us, right? Like the easy thing to do is you're nice to your teammates and you just like, you media don't know what you're talking, but he was very graceful with us. So like, I have nothing bad to say about Jared beyond the fact that he wasn't all that good this year, but I think all of us would say we're rooting for his success, whether it's in Oklahoma City or elsewhere.
And look, it's one thing to be a good guy like 12. It's another thing to be a good guy where you believe in him to put in the work and get, like Kyle mentioned earlier, he is going to reach his upside. Whatever that upside is, he's going to put in the work to do it. He's going to take coaching, he's going to take feedback, and he's going to apply that. And it's not just believing in him because he's like a nice kid, but he's a nice kid who works his butt off and is going to do whatever you ask him to do. It is a, it's a shame. It's a shame. Now, what about, it's not on the buyout market, but big, can rebound, it's a little bit of court vision.
You're going to say. You're not dropping the savage on me, and
Sixers
you're not going to make me mad about it.
are signing Patrick Baldwin Jr. to a 10-day contract.
Where did I just see? I don't know what team I recently saw him with.
Sweet.
I don't know. Okay.
That's exactly my reaction. All right. That feels like you're filling the roster so that Barlow can play.
That's exactly what it is.
I want to say he was in LA with the Clippers, honestly. That's where I want to say he was, where I last saw Patrick Baldwin Jr. That's what I want to say, but yeah, I don't know.
It was with the Clippers.
Was
he played 2 games with the Clippers this year.
Okay.
Hey, he shot 75% from the field.
You need an active
How many
body.
attempts do we think he had?
I mean, 4, probably.
4 and 3 makes, more than likely.
Great Boggins says, bring back Marcus Morris so we can have the Marcus Morris moment of the night.
Put him in a podcast chair with us, too. He's got a lot to say.
The 5th Baldwin brother, says Paul here in the chat.
Martian said Alec Baldwin's brother. So
Patrick Baldwin, okay.
Might as well add Daniel Baldwin.
And the Charlotte Hornets make it official. They have waived Mike Conley, so seems to be expected that he goes back to Minnesota. And that's pretty much it for NBA trade deadline day, our special. We appreciate, I'm just looking at the Chicago Bulls also having their tweets sent out. All these players pulling up to all these guys that they just added to the team. Man.
Should we start the roll call now? We got a few minutes left.
So
we got a lot of names to get through today.
Let's get to the world
famous
roll call, especially with all the super chats.
Guys, thank you for rolling with us today for 2 consecutive hours. All of you who were here.
Larry,
we
also
appreciate that a great deal. Larry Hawk Music says, if they had to trade someone, maybe Grimes instead of McCain would have been better. Unfortunately, Larry, no trade clause, and I don't think he would have had the same.
I wouldn't even have traded him either because you don't have anything.
They need good players.
Yeah.
Thank you to the great Bogus as well. But
thank
you to everybody.
You're going to see a lot of Quentin Grimes over the next couple months.
Thank you to everybody. This is going to go into overtime. There are too many people. Thank you to Coleman Potts, to Big AD, to my guy Strongman in Brisbane. I've never been to Brisbane, but I have good friends actually that live in Brisbane. Sounds like a wonderful place. Thank you to Sean Martin, Cousin Grace, Densley, Marley, Haidar, checking in from overseas.
Good to see you.
Our guy Al, the 2-minute
What
warning.
up, Al?
Sid, 2010. Scott, C. David, J Mac 34. Can we say J Mac around here without shedding a few tears about
we'll see you in March.
Jared, I look forward to seeing you in the return trip. Greeny Green, Rainy Rubart, Hybrid Pie. Table manners is here today.
Gotta have those table manners or else.
I don't know how good our table manners were today. By the way, guys, before we hit overtime, I need everybody to hit the like button on this video to say thank you to super producer Bree, who's making it all happen on the other side here. Helps us feel good, helps us sleep at night. It helps the YouTube channel, helps all the rest of our friends here at PHLY. And when you help us, we help you.
Yes.
We provide you with everything that we can, inside access, all these great shows. We love having you here. We'd love to have you here even more, to all our new people who are in here today. And should we just go to overtime, we think, Bree, while we're in the middle of the roll call?
Yeah, a couple of seconds.
Yeah, we'll hit overtime for a minute
there
so I
go.
can make sure I get all our wonderful people who are here. Head to allphly.com to continue the conversation. Thank you to Igavini.
And don't forget to join us tonight at 9:30, Sixers-Lakers pregame.
Yes, thank you to Igavini. Thank you to Win Forever, Rick Morse, Rick Sachs, Martian Lynch.
Go get him, Rick.
Eugene Ross. You done messed up.
You done messed up,
Hey,
Sixers.
Aaron. Thank you to
Jared
mom's
McCain.
grandchildren. Of course, mom hanging out for 2 hours.
Yes, she did.
Taking that time out of her day. Thank you, Mom. Thank you to Jess, Val, my girl Nona. Thank you to
ladies.
Penn State, Pat, Sean Sharp, B. Dean. I think we had 3 or 4 different Michaels, so I don't want to butcher the different Michaels in here, but hello to all the Michaels in here.
What up, Mikes?
Thank you to you. Thank you to Jazz Graham, SB Cole,
Jazzy.
Walrus in the building.
I love when Walrus is in here.
Terrence
What up,
Knights,
Walrus?
Tim Keating, Smy Guy,
Smoggy.
X-Man Theo,
X.
Music Lover. Who else do we have? We have quite a few people. Mellow 3 Point,
Hello, my man.
Vic, Jersey Guy, who says go Sixers. Look, if you can say go Sixers after a day or two like the last,
Still got 32
you're
games,
dedicated,
man.
my friend. Thank you to
32
SB
games.
Cole. Whew. Wawa Marvel. Thank you to all our people who are here. If you're new and you had fun with us, you learned something, hit the subscribe button on this video, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. I'm Kyle. That's Devon. That's Derek. We are here every single day talking Sixers. We do pre and post game shows. As Devon said, we're back 9:30 tonight. Pre-game, Sixers Lakers. We'll be back post-game. We'll see if they fill the roster enough to make sure Dominic Barlow can play. Are they at the number at this point where those guys can
With
play?
Bassie and Patrick Baldwin.
We have to
They said we
double
needed
check on
2,
that
I
one.
think.
No,
So-
they're at 14.
They're at 14
So
still,
they either need
so-
to sign another 10-day or convert Barlow for him to play.
Let's wait and see. In any case, we're here for every pre and post game
Crazy.
show. We do 3 p.m. shows. We do 2-hour deadline specials. We got all kinds of other stuff. Go on the ride with us. It was a pleasure to be here with you today. So on the way out, hit the thumbs up button. And otherwise, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.